Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt the man staring back no longer looks like you? Tired, tense, directionless. You ask yourself, since when did I become like this? That's the moment many people realize they need self-care. But then they get lost. People say self-care is baths, luxury retreats, scented candles, meditation music. Pretty sure, but who has the time, money, or patience to keep that up? Result: self-care turns into an illusion, and you're still stuck in the same old exhaustion. Here's where we go wrong. In Stoic philosophy, self-care isn't pampering, it's discipline. It's tiny daily training that rewires your brain, soothes your emotions, and keeps your body durable. No frills, no big cost. Just 5 minutes. But if you maintain it for 30, 180 days, you'll be reborn as a completely different version of yourself. Different enough that even you barely recognize the old you. In this video, I'll share 5 Stoic self-care habits, tiny practices with the power to reinvent you. This isn't philosophy on paper, it's practical tools to rebuild you from the inside out. This is Victory Stoic. Comment below with the keyword reinvent to etch in the message you can remake yourself. And remember to subscribe so you don't miss the game-changing lessons. Stay until the end, because the final habit is the one most men never realize, and it's the one that makes the transformation permanent. Let's begin. 1. Morning mind sweep. Clear the trash in your head, rebuild yourself. There's a type of person who dives into their phone before they've even taken a breath. Emails from the boss chat group pings a few news lines like the world is ending. Before brushing their teeth, they've turned into a loudspeaker of anxiety. They look like a hamster eyes barely open already running the wheel. The more they run, the more tired they get, yet go nowhere. Day after day, they don't live, they recycle yesterday's panic. A cheap copy of who they were the day before. Brian, 29, in Austin is a living example. Every morning, he opens Slack. A message from his boss lands like a knife, urgent update. Brian's brain instantly scripts a tragic movie: I'm going to get chewed out, I'm not good enough, I'm about to get fired. All within 5 minutes of waking up. 6 months later, he's still the same. Brian dark circles nerves tight as a wire, no different from day one. The opposite is Noah, 37, a surgeon in Denver. Noah has emails, charts, deadlines too. But before letting the world storm in, he sits on the edge of the bed, sets a 2-minute timer, closes his eyes, lets thoughts surface, worries, memories, plans. He doesn't fight, doesn't analyze, just observes, like watching clouds pass. 2 minutes later, Noah stands up clear and steady. 6 months of this habit, and he's a different man, less reactive, more in control. And that control makes colleagues respect him. Patients trust him. Friends lean on him. Science backs Noah. Lisa Feldman Barrett has shown observing your thoughts for a few minutes cools the nervous system, creating a buffer between stimulus and response. The brain is like a computer clearing junk files, freeing RAM, running smoothly all day. A 2-minute drill, but its power is to regenerate the whole self. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The mind can make itself quiet, right in the midst of chaos." He didn't wait for the world to quiet down. He rebuilt himself within the noise. That's reinventing. No retreat, no luxury. Just 2 minutes of morning discipline to be reborn. Takeaway: reinvent yourself doesn't start with changing jobs, moving house, or redoing your whole life. It starts with taking out the mental trash. A Stoic isn't a dog chasing every thought. He's the one who sits still, watches the shadows roll by, and only picks up what's worth keeping. Remember this image: a solid wooden table. People can bang on it, set things down, shove it sideways. The table doesn't topple. It stands. Each morning, 2 minutes of mind sweep is you checking your own sturdiness. And that sturdiness repeated turns you into someone else. Different enough that one day when you walk into a room, people whisper, "Is that even the same man, too?" Go to sleep with the sentence, "Today is done." Put a full stop to be reborn. At night, the body lies still under the blanket, but the mind becomes a chaotic fair. Thousands of echoes crowd in the slip-up in the meeting. The email unsent the boss's frown, even some tiny thing from 2 years ago pops up to join the party. The bed, which should be a calm harbor, turns into a midnight interrogation room. And at dawn, they appear on the street like mummies in jeans shuffling forward on caffeine and complaints. People call that living. In truth, it's faulty cloning. Every day they reproduce yesterday's burnt-out version, then wonder why they never managed to reinvent themselves. Take Henry, 41, a convenience store owner in Ohio. All day he wrestles with chatty customers and shrinkage. At night, wife and kids asleep, he lies awake. Henry's brain spins like a computer with a stuck fan. Did I miscount the cash? What to restock tomorrow? Did the new kid pocket candy? He tosses and turns like a loose bottle cap. 6 months of this, Henry is spent. He's aged 10 years. No reinvent, just repeat. Total contrast, Alicia, 33. A nurse in Florida, her days are packed, long shifts, irritable patients, piles of paperwork. But before closing her eyes, Alicia always whispers, "Today is done." 4 simple words, but they shut the warehouse door. The brain gets it. This shift is over. Tomorrow, she'll be a new person with new energy. So Alicia sleeps deep, wakes clear, and friends often marvel, "How are you always so calm?" No secret beyond that final line. Science has this nailed. Psychologists at the University of California call it ritual closure, a small act that downshifts the brain, lowers cortisol, and moves the body into recovery mode. Sleep isn't just rest. It's a rebuild shop, memories filed, muscles repaired, hormones balanced. Skip it, and you're like a car that never changes oil. Sooner or later, you stall on the road. Stoic philosophy said this long ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At night sleep like a man who has fulfilled his duty without regret, without remorse." Stoics don't torture themselves by replaying errors to infinity. They fight hard during the day, then let go. That letting go is what opens the way for tomorrow. We often confuse things. We think letting go equals laziness. So every night we push to do a bit more, think a bit more, wring the brain a bit more. In reality, not knowing how to let go is the real weakness. The strong man is the one who can put a full stop. Today is done. Tomorrow continues. Picture a sailor after a long voyage. The ship has docked, ropes secured. He takes a breath, lets go of the wheel, steps onto the pier. He knows he'll sail again tomorrow, but tonight the journey has ended. Likewise, you cannot be reborn if you don't know how to dock, drop anchor, and allow rest. Each night, when you say today is done, you're not just ending a day. You're laying the foundation for a different tomorrow. Keep it for 30, 90, 180 days, and you'll see the brighter, steadier, clearer version of you isn't from somewhere else. It's rebuilt one sleep at a time, until one morning you look in the mirror and realize that man isn't the old you anymore. 3. 1 compassion reset breath. Rachel, 28, HR in Boston. One morning she sent an internal email to the wrong list meant for her manager, but CC'd the entire company. Nothing serious in the content, just a few notes that Team A is a bit slow. Yet within 10 minutes, Rachel had built a private hell in her head. I'm careless, I'm stupid, everyone must hate me, the boss will fire me. No one at the company reacted harshly. But in Rachel's mind, the inner whip cracked nonstop. That night, she was still moaning, "Why was I so stupid?" This is a common tragedy. The real mistake is 1, but in our heads, it multiplies to 10. People call it high personal responsibility. But in truth, it's a refined form of self-torture. In Buddhism, there's a name for it, the second arrow. The first arrow is the real mistake. The second arrow is the self-condemnation. And the second arrow is the one that hurts most because we shoot it ourselves. What's the issue? We often think more self-blame is faster progress. Wrong. The inner whip doesn't help you correct faster. It only slows your getting back up, like a fighter knocked down who, instead of focusing on standing, bends over to punch himself in the face a few times. Comical to imagine, yet many of us do it daily. Science agrees. A 2009 Yale study shows that people who practice self-compassion breaks pausing to tell themselves one kind sentence recover faster after mistakes spiral less into self-criticism and even improve long-term performance. Why? When the nervous system hears you're safe, the parasympathetic branch activates, cortisol drops, and the brain returns to learning mode instead of defense. In other words, a single timely breath can decide whether you come back steady or fade under self-judgment. So how to practice? Simple. Next time the inner whip cracks, you don't need deep philosophy or an expensive retreat. You just need first stop for one breath. Really stop. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. Then, in that breath, tell yourself, I'm doing the best I can with what I know right now. Finally, return to what you were doing as if you just reset a computer. No long excuses, no over-apologizing. Just continue more clear-headed. It sounds small, but these small acts are what remake you. When you learn to be gentle with yourself, you become gentler with others. When you stop judging yourself to exhaustion, you stop viewing the world through a harsh lens. From there, your relationships work, even your sleep change. Stoic philosophy has warned us for ages. Epictetus said, "It's not things that hurt you, but your judgments about them." The first arrow may be unavoidable, but the second arrow is entirely in your hands. A Stoic doesn't waste power on self-indictment. He owns the mistake, corrects course, and continues. Root-level change doesn't start by switching careers, houses, or looks. It starts when you pause for one breath, refuse the second arrow, and give yourself the chance to stand up faster. Just one breath. Repeated daily, it becomes the breathing rhythm of a new person, to the point that one day, others won't quite recognize you anymore. 4. Micro-gratitude. A small wink that saves an entire day. Ethan, 35. An IT employee in Chicago starts every morning with a list. As long as a scroll system bugs deadlines at his throat, the boss's burning stare, clueless client questions. One rainy morning, as soon as he stepped into the office, his boss asked, "Was last night's server issue resolved?" The answer was no. And in an instant, Ethan heard the familiar whisper in his head. "My life is a disaster. Why does everything always end up on me?" That day, his mind turned into an overflowing trash can. Everything, no matter how small, felt like a stab. But here's a curious detail. When he stepped out to grab coffee, Ethan saw a girl about 10 sheltering under an awning, hugging a little dog tight to keep it dry. In that moment, Ethan laughed. No one on earth made the girl do that. But she did. Strangely, that scene lit up the whole awful day. Ethan realized the world isn't entirely against me. There are small, warm things that, if we're willing to notice, soften the thorns in our heads. This is exactly where most of us go wrong. We think gratitude has to be for big things. Thank the big job, the family sacrifice, the life event that taught a lesson. Sounds nice, but honestly, who has the bandwidth to submit a daily gratitude scroll? The result, we miss the tiny specks that could rescue our day from heaviness. And we live like the early morning Ethan, seeing only worries, missing the light. Science has an answer. A University of California study found that people who note at least one small thing to be grateful for each day, like a stranger's smile, a good cup of coffee, or a green light at the right moment, show higher serotonin, lower stress, and 23% more stable mental health. It sounds funny, a well-timed green light changing brain chemistry. But it's true. The brain doesn't sort big versus small. It tags positive versus negative. Why does it work? Because micro-gratitude retrains your brain. The brain has a negativity bias. Magnify the bad, ignore the good. When you practice spotting one tiny thing to appreciate, you're hacking the system. You're not pretending life is all roses. You're simply reminding your brain, inside this mess, there's still something to smile about. And that pause is an antidote to anxiety. How to practice? Very simple. First, each day pick one small moment, nothing lofty, maybe a warm coffee, a hug, a song that queued up at the right time. Then, acknowledge it. Tell yourself, this is worth being grateful for. Finally, jot it down quickly, or just say it in your head. Don't turn it into a long list. One line is enough to reset. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be astonished each day, as if seeing the sun for the first time." That's the essence of micro-gratitude. Don't wait for big events or big gifts. Just re-see what is ordinary, yet miraculous. Micro-gratitude doesn't turn you into a pink-tinted dreamer. It makes you clear-headed, steady enough to endure chaos, because you know there's still a place to smile within it. One tiny moment repeated daily becomes the foundation that gradually turns you into someone else, less bitter, more weighty. And after a few months, people will find it hard to believe you were once the guy who complained about everything. 5. The energy audit. When your body sounds the alarm and you pretend not to hear. There are moments when your body screams while you act like you don't notice. Shoulders tight like strings, chest heavy like armor, breath shallow like a stranded fish. Yet your mouth keeps forcing a smile, nodding, continuing the meeting, enduring a boring story, wasting battery on things that give you nothing back. From the outside, you look like a polite adult. From the inside, you're a phone on a knockoff charger battery dropping 1% a minute. Chris, 30, a web designer in Seattle, is an example. At a networking event, his body signaled the moment he walked in, rigid shoulders, heavy chest, brain yelling, "This isn't your place." But Chris stayed anyway, shaking hands, awkwardly asking, "What industry are you in?" After 45 minutes, his battery went from 100% to 3%. He left, went home, and collapsed like an overheated laptop. The next morning, he asked himself, "Who am I living for?" This is exactly what signals mean. The body sends messages constantly, but most of us ignore them. We think we tolerate well, but in truth, we're betraying ourselves. A wise person can tell the difference between good fatigue, tired from lifting weights, learning a skill, meaningful work, and bad fatigue, tired from forced smiles for energy drainers, getting sucked into drama, living by others' expectations. Science backs this. Professor Stephen Porges's polyvagal theory shows our nervous system reacts to environments far faster than conscious thought. The body detects danger, toxicity, or energy drain before the mind can analyze it. Tight shoulders, shallow breath, racing heart, those are signals. The problem isn't that we lack radar, it's that we ignore it. Of course, there are exceptions. Tight shoulders or a heavy chest don't always mean leave now. Sometimes it's a sign you're testing yourself, an athlete training a student stressed before an exam, an entrepreneur pitching a project that is good fatigue. The point is to distinguish. Good fatigue makes you larger. Bad fatigue makes you smaller. How to filter? Very simple. Attach an audit checkpoint to fix daily moments when washing hands, closing the laptop, waiting at a red light. Ask, am I charging or draining right now? Feel your shoulders, chest, breath. If you're being drained, you have 4 options. Change how you're participating, shift the topic, exit, or take 3 intentional breaths to reset. If it's meaningful fatigue, continue. Stoic philosophy reminds us, Epictetus wrote, "Do not let your soul be spent on what lies beyond your control." A clear-headed man doesn't let his precious energy leak into pointless holes. He saves it for battles that deserve it. Everyone has 24 hours, but no one has infinite battery. The wise man doesn't prove how long he can endure. He proves he knows when to stop. A tiny regular energy audit can save you from a lifetime of wasteful drain. Conclusion. Here's the core truth. You don't need a loud revolution to change your life. You just need small disciplines, repeated daily. The seemingly ordinary things are precisely what quietly rebuild you. A stoic man isn't the one straining to prove himself, nor a hopeless dreamer. He's not the guy faking busyness, chasing every trend, pretending to be fine. He's the one who centers his mind, manages his energy, and lets go when it's time to let go. That is real weight. Stoicism doesn't turn you cold and numb. It forges you into someone warm, yet in control. No squandering emotions, no bleeding energy into the meaningless. Instead, you keep your heat for what matters: your work, your career, your family, and yourself. Picture a lighthouse. In rough seas, it doesn't shout or show off. It stands still, shining steadily, letting others find their way. You too stand firm, and the world will adjust around you. If you truly want to become a version few can recognize, here's the condition. You start with small habits, repeated without fail. The reward. One day you look in the mirror and see a different man, looking back, calm, steady, hard to shake. Comment below with the keyword Stoic Reset to remind yourself that every big change begins with small resets. And share this video with a brother who needs this message today. This is Victory Stoic. See you in the next video.